Welcome to Hero Villains. Thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. Determining the winner in a battle between Sentry's Dark Void aspect and Apocalypse, the Ancient Mutant, is one of the most complex and dramatic analytical problems. Both are entities capable of reshaping the entire landscape of the Marvel Universe, but in completely different ways. Sentry carries within him the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, a primordial energy source that can tear reality apart at the molecular level and recreate all things from nothingness. The Void, his dark aspect, is infinitely more terrifying because it is not bound by any moral or psychological limits. Apocalypse, on the other hand, does not possess the instantaneous destructive power of Sentry, but he compensates with true immortality, infinite adaptability, and an intellect honed over millennia of warfare. Who will be the last one standing? In short, let's get started.
First is Sentry, the Void, Robert Reynolds. He was once an addict, an ordinary man with all the frailties and instabilities of a mind that was never healed. However, on one fateful night, Robert broke into a secret government laboratory and drank a variant of the super soldier serum, one designed to create a more perfect version of Captain America. That chemical reaction not only transformed his body but also tore apart the reality around him, creating an energy explosion of immeasurable destructive power. From that moment on, Robert Reynolds was no longer a mere human. He became Sentry, an entity possessing the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, a seemingly limitless wellspring of infinite energy. But that power came with a terrible price. Along with Sentry, a shadow entity named the Void was also born. The Void is not an external enemy, but the dark half of Robert himself, all the fear, rage, and destructive instincts suppressed within his mind. Every time Sentry uses his power, the Void grows. Every time Robert saves the world, the Void destroys a part of it. This duality is a tragedy, and it is also the factor that makes Sentry both immensely powerful and dangerously unstable. Sentry's power in its basic form already surpasses almost every entity in the universe. He possesses virtually limitless physical strength, able to lift unmeasurable masses, withstand attacks that could destroy entire planets, and fight World War Hulk at the peak of his power to a standstill. His speed far exceeds light, allowing him to travel between galaxies in an instant and react to attacks at the molecular level. His flight is not hindered by any physical barrier, and he can travel through dimensions with ease. However, physical strength is just the surface. Sentry's most terrifying ability is matter manipulation at the molecular level. He can disintegrate any substance into its constituent atoms, reconstruct them at will, and even completely erase an entity's existence from the time stream. In certain events, Sentry demonstrated this ability by tearing Ares, the Olympian god of war, apart piece by piece with his bare hands, an act that horrified even cosmic entities. He also possesses near instantaneous regeneration, recovering from wounds that would kill any other living being and even returning from death if necessary. The Void, when fully unleashed, is on a completely different level. No longer restrained by Robert's protective will, the Void is the pure embodiment of destruction. He does not fight to protect or redeem, he fights to obliterate. The Void can create storms of dark energy that consume everything in their path, manipulate shadows as a physical weapon, and inflict primal fear upon any creature that looks upon him. During the Siege event, the Void defeated the entire Avengers, tore Ares apart, destroyed Asgard, and was only stopped when all the remaining heroes combined their efforts to destroy him. Even when killed, the Void persists within Robert's mind, waiting for the moment to rise once more. The battles of Sentry and the Void against formidable foes have become some of the darkest chapters in history. The fight between Sentry and World War Hulk is one of the most spectacular physical confrontations ever recorded. Hulk, in his World War state, with strength multiplying exponentially with every surge of rage, laid waste to the entirety of New York and defeated nearly every hero who stood in his way. Only when Sentry appeared did Hulk finally find a worthy opponent. The clash between these two entities generated shockwaves that could be felt from Earth's orbit, and it ultimately ended with both completely exhausted, neither truly defeating the other. Another memorable battle was when Sentry faced off against Molecule Man, an entity with the ability to manipulate all matter and energy across the multiverse. In this confrontation, Sentry not only utilized his physical power, but also had to draw upon his own molecular manipulation abilities to counter Molecule Man on the same level. This battle proved proved that Sentry is not merely a physical engine of destruction, but also an entity capable of interfering with the fundamental structure of reality itself. The Void, during the Dark Avengers and Siege events, demonstrated his terrifying power when he confronted the entire superhero community. He defeated Thor, destroyed Asgard, and forced even the most powerful entities to retreat. Only when Norman Osborn, who had exploited the Void for his own purposes, was defeated, and when all the heroes combined their forces to attack simultaneously, was the Void finally brought down. But even when destroyed, the Void did not truly vanish. It merely returned to a dormant state within Robert's mind. However, Sentry has fatal weaknesses that no amount of power can compensate for. His greatest weakness lies in his mind. Robert Reynolds is a deeply traumatized man, suffering from agoraphobia, severe depression, and living in constant fear that the Void will seize control. This psychological instability means Sentry can never wield his full power in a stable, consistent manner. He is always hesitant, always afraid, and always haunted by the consequences of his own actions. In battle, this hesitation can create moments of vulnerability that a clever enemy can exploit. The Void has its own weaknesses as well. Despite being immensely powerful and brutal, the Void lacks the creativity and adaptability of a true warrior. He fights on pure destructive instinct, with no tactics, no planning, and no capacity to learn from mistakes. This makes the Void vulnerable to more intelligent enemies, those who can take advantage of his uncontrolled aggression to set traps and counterattack. Furthermore, the Void is bound to Robert Reynolds. If Robert dies or is sealed away, the Void will weaken accordingly. This link is both a source of power and the Achilles heel of both entities.
I really hope you will subscribe to the channel. It would help us out a lot, and you are the absolute best. Thank you so much.
Now, let's talk about Apocalypse, the oldest mutant. Sabanur, known by the title Apocalypse, is one of the most ancient and fearsome entities. Born thousands of years before the Common Era in ancient Egypt, Sabanur was the first mutant to ever exist on Earth. However, unlike other mutants whose powers only awaken at puberty, Sabanur displayed his mutant abilities from the moment he was an infant abandoned in the desert. It was the harshness of that environment and the philosophy of survival that shaped his very nature from those earliest days. The origin of Apocalypse is intrinsically linked to the intervention of the Celestials, ancient cosmic entities who sowed the seeds of life and mutation on Earth millions of years ago. As a child, Sabanur was found and raised by a nomadic tribe. They taught him that only the strongest deserve to survive, and this philosophy became the foundation for his entire existence thereafter. Upon reaching adulthood, Sabanur came into contact with celestial technology, the colossal biomechanical machines buried deep beneath the Egyptian sands. This contact transformed his body forever, granting him the ability to manipulate his own molecular structure and achieve true immortality. Apocalypse's power is a unique fusion of natural mutation and celestial technology. His core ability is the molecular manipulation of his own body. He can alter the size, shape, and density of every cell within himself at will. This allows him to grow as colossal as a building, become as hard as an indestructible metal, or as fluid as water to evade any attack. He can regenerate any damaged body part, recover from fatal wounds, and even transfer his consciousness into a new body if his old one is completely destroyed. Apocalypse's immortality is one of his most terrifying traits. He is not merely difficult to kill, he truly cannot be permanently destroyed by any conventional means. Over his thousands of years of existence, Apocalypse has been slain hundreds of times, yet each time he has returned, stronger and more adapted than before. He can hibernate for centuries within a stone sarcophagus, waiting for the opportune moment to awaken and continue his mission of purifying humanity. Even if his physical form is entirely annihilated, his consciousness persists and can possess a new host, continuing the endless cycle of life and destruction. The four horsemen of Apocalypse are an inseparable component of his power. Over millennia, Apocalypse has selected and transformed the mightiest warriors into horsemen serving his vision. War, famine, pestilence, and death are entities augmented by celestial technology, turned into weapons of mass destruction. Each horseman possesses power on par with Earth's mightiest heroes, and when the four unite, they can threaten the very existence of the entire planet. Apocalypse is a master strategist and a brilliant scientist. His thousands of years of existence have granted him profound knowledge of every civilization, every technology, and every form of warfare humanity has ever known. He has witnessed the rise and fall of countless empires, learning from each conflict and amassing an incomparable arsenal of tactics. He is not merely a warrior, but also a leader, a manipulator, and a philosopher with a vision of evolution that no other can comprehend. The battles of Apocalypse against formidable foes have spanned thousands of years of history. In antiquity, he clashed with pharaohs, gods, and the greatest warriors of the ancient world. He fought Kang the Conqueror, the time traveler from the future, in a confrontation where both wielded technology far beyond their time in an attempt to overwhelm the other. Apocalypse proved that even without time travel technology, he could hold his ground and even defeat an enemy from the future through the strength and intellect accumulated over millennia. Apocalypse has repeatedly clashed with the X-Men, Earth's mightiest superhero team. In the Age of Apocalypse event, he succeeded in seizing control of Earth, transforming it into a world where only the strong were permitted to exist. He defeated Magneto, Xavier, and the entire X-Men in an alternate timeline, proving that when left unchecked, his power and vision could overwhelm the entire mutant community. In this event, Apocalypse transformed millions of people into creatures that served him, creating a global empire founded on the survival of the fittest philosophy. Apocalypse has also confronted the Celestials, the very entities that created him. When the Celestials returned to Earth to judge humanity, Apocalypse stood up against those who had bestowed power upon him. Though overwhelmed in terms of absolute power, he still used his intelligence and understanding of celestial technology to create weapons and traps capable of harming these cosmic entities. This battle proved that Apocalypse is not just a powerful warrior, but also someone who dares to challenge even the gods. Apocalypse's most memorable battle was when he faced the Phoenix Force, the most powerful cosmic entity. In this event, Apocalypse used all his power and technology in an attempt to either absorb or neutralize the Phoenix Force. Though ultimately defeated, he demonstrated that even a cosmic level entity had to expend tremendous effort to bring him down. Apocalypse's adaptability and recovery in this battle led even the Phoenix Force to acknowledge that he was a formidable opponent. Apocalypse has also clashed with Hulk, Thor, and the mightiest physical warriors in the universe. In these battles, he often used his ability to alter size and density to gain an advantage. He could become gigantic to overwhelm his opponents in reach and strength, or shrink to a small, agile form to evade devastating attacks. This flexibility makes Apocalypse extremely difficult to handle in hand-to-hand combat, because his enemies never know how he will shift his tactics. However, Apocalypse does have weaknesses. His greatest weakness is his ego and his rigid philosophy. Apocalypse holds an absolute belief in the survival of the fittest doctrine, and this means he never accepts retreat or admits defeat. He will fight to the bitter end, even when he knows he cannot win, because fleeing would mean admitting he is unworthy to exist. This arrogance often creates opportunities for his enemies to exploit. Furthermore, despite being immortal, Apocalypse still requires time to recover after each death. During that period, he is vulnerable and can be sealed away if his enemies know how. Apocalypse is also dependent on celestial technology for many of his abilities. If this technology is destroyed or neutralized, he loses a significant portion of his power. In several battles, heroes have managed to destroy or disable the celestial machines Apocalypse used, forcing him to fight in a weakened state. This is a strategic weakness that an intelligent enemy can exploit. Now, let me do a direct comparison and battle analysis. In this confrontation, if we consider raw power at the destructive level, Sentry's Void holds an overwhelming advantage. The power of 1,000,000 exploding suns is not something any physical entity can withstand. The Void can tear matter apart at the molecular level, obliterate everything within his sphere of influence, and unleash energy blasts with destructive force equivalent to a miniature Big Bang. Apocalypse, despite his ability to manipulate his own molecular structure, still has limits to what he can endure. If the Void were to focus all his power into a single attack aimed at completely disintegrating Apocalypse's molecular structure, he could inflict severe damage that even Apocalypse's regenerative abilities would struggle to recover from immediately. However, Apocalypse is not one to stand still and wait to be struck. Thousands of years of warfare have taught him that power does not always prevail, and that adaptation is the true key to survival. Apocalypse would not confront the Void head-on with physical force. Instead, he would use his flexibility to evade, alter his form to minimize damage, and search for weaknesses in the Void's fighting style. In terms of speed, the Void has a clear advantage. Sentry's power allows him to move at speeds far exceeding light, and the Void is not constrained by any physical barriers. Apocalypse, though agile and possessing superhuman reflexes, still cannot match the Void's speed in a direct chase. However, Apocalypse does not need to be faster than the Void to win. He only needs to be fast enough to evade lethal blows and create distance to counterattack. With his ability to instantly alter his size and density, Apocalypse can make himself an incredibly difficult target to hit, forcing the Void to expend significantly more energy to inflict any real damage. Regarding energy manipulation, both possess terrifying capabilities. The Void uses energy as a weapon of direct destruction, unleashing torrents of dark power with the sole purpose of erasing the enemy's existence. Apocalypse, in contrast, uses energy in a more refined manner, absorbing and converting ambient energy from his surroundings to enhance his own power. He can absorb a portion of the energy from the Void's attacks and use it to regenerate his body or augment his physical strength. This ability makes destroying Apocalypse through pure energy extremely difficult, because every attack carries the risk of being absorbed and turned back against its source. The Void, though immensely powerful and brutal, fights on pure instinct. He has no tactics, no planning, and no ability to learn from his mistakes. Every attack from the Void is an expression of rage and a thirst for destruction, devoid of calculation or subtlety. Apocalypse, on the other hand, is a strategist with thousands of years of experience. He will observe, analyze, and identify patterns in the Void's fighting style. He will realize that the Void does not alter his tactics, does not adapt, and always attacks in the same manner. And once he has recognized that, Apocalypse will craft perfect traps to exploit the Void's uncontrolled aggression. Apocalypse's immortality is a factor that completely shifts the balance of the battle. The Void can kill Apocalypse once, twice, even 10 times, but he will always return. Each time he returns, Apocalypse will be stronger, more adapted, and more knowledgeable about the Void's fighting style. Meanwhile, the Void is bound to Robert Reynolds if the battle drags on too long. If the Void expends too much power, Robert will begin to lose control, and the Void may weaken or vanish entirely. This is a massive strategic advantage for Apocalypse, because he only needs to prolong the fight long enough for the Void to destroy himself. However, it must be acknowledged that if the Void is determined to annihilate Apocalypse from the very start, before Apocalypse has time to adapt and counterattack, he could inflict irrecoverable damage. The Void's molecular disintegration power, when focused entirely on a single target, could overwhelm Apocalypse's regenerative abilities. If the Void tears apart every atom in Apocalypse's body simultaneously, leaving him no chance to regenerate or transfer his consciousness, then even his immortality would be rendered meaningless. But this possibility hinges on whether the Void possesses enough focus and willpower to execute such a precise attack, and given the Void's chaotic nature, this is extremely unlikely to happen. In a prolonged battle, Apocalypse holds an overwhelming advantage. He does not tire, does not hesitate, and is not swayed by emotion. He can fight continuously for days, weeks, even years without any decline in his power. The Void, in contrast, is limited by the psychological endurance of Robert Reynolds. Every minute of combat is a minute. Robert must struggle to keep the Void from completely seizing control, and this internal conflict will gradually weaken them both. Should the Void become an entity of absolute destruction, no longer restrained by fear or compassion, his power in this state could reach a level capable of threatening even high-tier cosmic entities. If the Void is fully unleashed, he could generate an energy blast powerful enough to destroy an entire planet, and within that sphere of influence, even Apocalypse would be annihilated. The Void is a psychological parasite, a dark aspect that cannot exist independently without Robert Reynolds as its host. Apocalypse is an independent, complete entity with his own will and purpose. If the battle lasts long enough, the Void will begin to weaken as Robert exhausts himself, while Apocalypse remains as strong as he was at the beginning. And when the void weakens, Apocalypse will deliver the finishing blow, using all the power accumulated over millennia to utterly destroy this shadow entity. Apocalypse would have a nearly absolute advantage. He would use thousands of years of knowledge and experience to create the perfect battlefield, one where the void's destructive power is neutralized and Robert Reynolds' psychological weaknesses are exploited to their fullest extent. The void, lacking the ability to plan or adapt, would walk into a perfectly designed trap with no way out. Therefore, in my analysis, Apocalypse would be the last one standing. The void is a storm terrifying and destructive, but every storm eventually dissipates. Apocalypse is a mountain, standing firm through every storm, every earthquake, every catastrophe. He has lived for thousands of years, has witnessed countless entities more powerful than himself rise and fall, and he still stands there, immortal, resolute, waiting.
And that is our analysis of this confrontation. I hope you enjoyed this battle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section. Follow me if you liked it. That is today's video. Thank you very much.